What is going on, America? My fellow Americans, my friends, people I've never met before. Let's get into it. Today is October 20th, and we are doing an up-to-date Senate prediction. So, midterms just 17 days away. Things are getting really tight, really contested, and it's time to do a breakdown of the Senate race. I'm going to try to go into more detail than previously before. So, as usual, we'll start with the safe Democratic states. This time I'm going to start in the east and work my way west. So, new polls out of Maine, that's a safe state, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. All of New England is safe Democratic. Then we move down to New York. New York's a safe Democratic state. Delaware and Maryland are safe Democrat. Pennsylvania and New Jersey we'll get back to. And as we keep going across, Minnesota is the next safe Democratic state. I'm not going to talk about the special election yet. That one I'll get back to. New Mexico, with Gary Johnson in the race, he's going to take a significant percentage of the race. I don't see any Republican or Libertarian winning there. In the state of Hawaii, Mazie Hirono, she's going to win that pretty easily. The state of California is going to be a safe Democratic win, considering there's 2 Democrats on the ballot, no Republican. And in Washington, that's also going to be a safe Democratic win. So the Democrats are definitely going to get at least 36 safe seats. For the Republicans now, they're going to win Utah with Mitt Romney, Wyoming, Nebraska, and definitely 1 seed Mississippi. So Republicans are going to get at least 46. Democrats are going to get at least 36. Now we're going to go to the likely states. New Jersey, while it's been closer due to Bob Menendez's unpopularity, there was a new poll that shows him up 9%. It was 49% to 40%. And to be honest, even with Bob Menendez's unlikely popularity, for me to put it in the lean Democrat column or toss-up column, we would have to see at least one poll with Bob Hugin within either winning or tied. And the closest it got was Menendez up 2, and that was almost 2 months ago now. So New Jersey's going in the likely column. Pennsylvania also, we just haven't seen Lou Barletta catch up in polls yet. There was one that had him 47 to 30. And while there's a big significant portion of vote missing, there just hasn't been any polls that show him significantly gaining or closing the gap. So Pennsylvania is in the likely column as well. Ohio, on the other hand, there's been many, many polls that show Sherrod Brown with a very big lead over Jim Renacci. And perhaps this could be different if Josh Mandel didn't drop out of the race due to his wife's health back in January. But at least with the current candidates, Sherrod Brown's going to win this by a pretty big margin. In Michigan, it's getting more close. There's a recent poll from a few days ago that showed it 51% to 45%, where the Republican John James actually gained ground. Nevertheless, Debbie Stabenow still popular. She still has over 50%. This goes in the likely Democrat column. And the state of Wisconsin, that one is going in the likely Democratic column. I don't really see Tammy Baldwin at this stage looking too unsafe in that race. I think she'll take it. President Trump's doing a rally in Wisconsin in a few days. That may push it a little farther to the Republican side, but at the absolute most, that would be likely to lean Democratic state. The Minnesota special election, there's been some polls out that show anywhere from a 9 to 12-point lead for the Democrats, so I don't really think that's going to be too close. And I want to talk about Virginia a little more, because Virginia is a state that I've been very fascinated with in terms of politics, because in 2014, Ed Gillespie almost came back and win when he was supposed to lose by like 13 points. And then in 2016, Trump didn't campaign there at all, and he only lost by like 4 points. But then in 2017, Ed Gillespie had a big chance to win the governor's race, and he ended up losing by 9 points. So it always seems like polling data is kind of off in Virginia. And usually, the candidate that's in the polling that has the advantage is supposed to win. But if they're supposed to win by 12 points, it's always in between like 3 or 4%. For some reason, the polling's always off, where the polling will either say one candidate wins by a lot, then in actuality barely wins, or is very, very close and then loses by a big margin. So Tim Kaine is up by a big percentage over Corey Stewart. And I do think Corey Stewart will make it actually close and get around 45% at least. So I think Virginia is in the likely Democratic column. I just wanted to kind of say how I think that state's very interesting in terms of how polling stuff works. And now that's it for the likely Democratic states. The likely Republican states, I'm going to put Mississippi special election in the likely Republican state because there's really been no polling that shows the Democrat has a chance there. And other remaining states, I'm tempted. No, actually, I'm just going to put the rest of the Republican states in the leading column because I want to talk about them a bit more. So I'm going to do that first because there's more of them. So Texas is a state that the Democrats really believe they have a chance in. Beto O'Rourke has kind of hit the ceiling for his popularity, which is about 45% in the state of Texas. I don't think he's going to gain much more support besides that. Ted Cruz, while he may be unpopular, he's popular enough to win in Texas. Trump's going to come down to a rally for him as well. Texas will not get any closer than lean Republican in my eyes. North Dakota, Kevin Cramer, there's been many polls up showing him over 10%. Heidi Heitkamp voting no on Kavanaugh pretty much sealed her fate. I think North Dakota flips to the Republican column. That'll be the first flip for either political party on election night. Going to North Dakota's neighbor, Montana, I think from now, I flip this back and forth a little bit. I think Montana is in the lean Democrat column because there simply hasn't been that much polling out of it in a very long time. President Trump did a rally there a few days ago, but until we see more polling showing the race getting a lot closer, just the fact that Jon Tester voted no and is still shown to be in the lead, I think it's enough to put in the lean Democratic column. And now in the state of West Virginia, excuse my voice, nose a little stuffy. And in West Virginia, Joe Manchin was already leading before the Kavanaugh vote, and he voted in favor of it. So I think that's solidly in the lean Democratic column, maybe bordering likely Democratic column. But I don't think Joe Manchin should have any trouble there. So now, this one is going to put the GOP in the majority, and that is the state of Tennessee. Tennessee has gone back and forth throughout this whole election cycle where Phil Bredesen started off leading very early on. Then after the primaries, it sort of shifted, and then Marsha Blackburn was ahead. And then when Trump came to do the rally down there, that also shifted it in Marsha Blackburn's favor. And then Taylor Swift came out and said she supported Phil Bredesen or whatever. And there was one poll that had Marsha Blackburn up 14. Then there was another poll that had Bredesen up 1. And those are the two most recent ones. And honestly, I do believe that the 14-point Blackburn one is more likely than the 1-point Bredesen one. Because I just feel like in the state of Tennessee, this always happens. Where they'll start off with polls that show, the Democrat might have a chance. For instance, this happened in 2012, and then the Republican ends up winning by a big margin. I think that'll be the same now. So the Republicans will definitely have the majority in the Senate, in my eyes, with at least 50 seats. Democrats will have at least 45. So the rest of the states are what I consider to be the main toss-up states. And in these toss-up states, I'm going to be using tilt Republican or tilt Democrat, meaning I think it's going to be less, in my view, than 3 or 4%. And we'll start off in the West. In the state of Nevada, this race has definitely shifted towards Dean Heller. Jackie Rosen started off early, leading as a challenger. Dean Heller looked like he was the most vulnerable senator. I don't believe he is anymore. President Trump has done 2 rallies for him. He's leading in the polls now. I think Dean Heller holds on to his seat in Nevada. It will still be close, but I still think Dean Heller holds on. In Arizona, this is another one that has definitely shifted. Martha McSally was down early. Kirsten Sinema was leading pretty much all the time. This race has shifted. McSally's now ahead. Trump has done a rally for her. I think Arizona, like Nevada, is trending the way of the Republicans. And now the state of Missouri. The reasoning for my Missouri prediction, besides the video I made, which I keep propping up in every single video, the reason for Missouri is this. Every single poll shows them tied. Shows Josh Hawley and Claire McCaskill tied. For Claire McCaskill, you're a Democratic incumbent in a Republican state, and you're tied. And usually the more undecided voters that will choose this race are in a very Republican state. That usually goes good for the Republican challenger. And that's what my initial reasoning for Dean Heller was a few months ago, where If you're the incumbent and you're tied or losing, you're in a lot of trouble. And I think, considering this race is tied right now, that's enough to give Josh Hawley the edge in Missouri. Now, Indiana, on the other hand, this is, I believe, a change from my last prediction. Indiana goes in the tilt Democrat column. There was a new poll that came out that showed Joe Donnelly at 44, Mike Braun at 40, and the Libertarian candidate at 7. My reasoning for this for now is because the Libertarian candidate is getting 7, and the Libertarians often poll more from the Republican side from the Democratic side. Now, had that been a Green Party candidate instead of a Libertarian, I think that would definitely help out Mike Braun more, and he can still win. But I think President Trump's going to need to do another rally in Indiana, and Mike Braun's going to need to gain support, because with that Libertarian taking 7% of the vote, and people in Indiana not really feeling too strongly about Joe Donnelly and not really disliking him too much, that's definitely going to make a lot harder for Mike Braun to win. He still can. President Trump goes to Indiana, Mike Pence goes to Indiana, that race can instantly go tilt Republican again, but it's going to be contested. And we're going to finish it off with Florida. Florida, perhaps, is the race that I might want to talk about the most, aside from Missouri, because those are the two I've been focusing on the most. Florida has shifted back and forth at least 4 times now. At least. It was Bill Nelson, then it was Rick Scott for a long time, then Bill Nelson for a brief period of time, now Rick Scott for a brief period of time again. I'm going to be putting up a Florida Senate video soon. I'm not sure which one will come out first, but I'm going to be doing it like either right before or right after each other. And Florida, I think Florida is going to go in the tilt Republican column. I think Rick Scott will end up winning this race and picking up another seat for the GOP, for the simple reason that there's a new poll that shows Rick Scott at 49, Bill Nelson at 47, and that poll got like 2,000 people in it. And I talked about the poll in the video. But that, I think, is the most likely poll. And I also think Rick Scott will likely help Ron DeSantis in his governor efforts as well. And that's going to help Ron DeSantis win or lose or not. But I'm just saying it's definitely going to help him out. And I think Ron DeSantis probably will win in Florida if Rick Scott wins. So Florida I put in the tilt Republican column. That's my up-to-date Senate prediction. Please like and subscribe if you liked it. I'd really appreciate you leaving a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.